Good afternoon. I'm Brett Blake, and you're watching MediaPlex live at 1. Thousands of Windsor students and other travelers will have to find other modes of transportation after Via Rail suspended national service on Thursday due to anti-pipeline protests, disrupting rail freight and passenger service. Have you ever bought something and thought to yourself that you just won the jackpot with your finding? Max DeLiberato tells us some rare findings in a local flea market.
There's many opportunities to find different treasures when you come here to the village. You can find anything from car parts to Hot Wheels here today. Let's go inside and find out what we can see. There are many different and unique items that can be found at a flea market. Most people come to these markets in search of the next big find. Harry Bergman, whose establishment holds a regular auto parts flea market, gives us some insight where some of these parts come from.
We become hoarders, if you want to call us that. We'll get a car, and then we're looking for parts in case we need it. Well, all of a sudden, we've got a ton of extra parts, and we sell the car, and we don't need the parts. So we're here trying to sell, and guys are coming and finding what, so it's a good deal.
With all the interesting assortments of items, we went into the uniqueness of one rare find.
Like there was a guy looking for a Model A fender, and I happened to have an original, perfect. And all steel, it's right there, he's got to come and pick it up. He was the happiest man going when he found that. That's what he needed. So it's one of those things. They reproduce them, but they're not produced like the original. They're not anywhere near as good, and that's a find.
This is just one example of one flea market. With many markets around the province, stopping by and seeing what you can find sounds like a must. I'm Max DeLiberato, MediaPlex News.
Next, we'll tune into the studio with Dunya El Haddad to see what's coming straight out of Windsor.
The interviewer becomes the interviewee. Today, Andy Sullivan, creator of the podcast Straight Outta Windsor, joins the MediaPlex. The podcast has over 100 episodes and recently had its 2-year anniversary. So Andy, how do you come up with your questions when you're interviewing people?
I really don't. I used to really have everything formulated and I'd know everything I was going to ask after each other, but now I just do my homework on them and I know where I'm going to start and where I'm going to finish, and I try to not have set questions so I can just have a real conversation and just be as natural as possible now.
And what would you say is your most memorable interview?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask that. It's so hard. It depends on the mood I'm in and kind of what comes top of mind, but I think the one I always reflect back on is Chris Laurie. He's a 4-time Olympic bobsledder, and he has a great journey, and he got injured really bad in competition, but more importantly, in his retirement, this guy, I call him the Bruce Wayne of Windsor. Like, he is now helping with these undercover sting operations to free young girls in the sex trade in Asia. And he does this because he cares, and he's saved over 400 girls now, and it's something that he's so passionate about, and it's just an incredible story that I love telling that story. That one was a really cool one.
That is really cool. And what is your selection process when you are finding potential people to interview?
It's hard. I try to keep a balance. So, it's a business person one week, it's a musician the next week, it's an entrepreneur, it's an athlete, it's a singer. So I try to keep it as varied as possible, but it also depends on scheduling. It also depends on people that actually say yes to do the show as well. So I just keep a list, and what's nice too is I get to pick. So it's always people I'm genuinely interested in. There's no mandate by any means, so I just get to sit down and talk to people that I find interesting.
So you recently hit your 2-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was the original inspiration for the idea? Like, how did you come up with it?
It's a little bit of a long story, and we don't have that much time. So really, at the end of the day, it was to share the positive stories about our community and really take the time to highlight the people that are doing great things or have gone on from our community to do awesome things elsewhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Straight Out of Windsor can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you can find a podcast.
Turning to weather, today it'll be 6 degrees with a chance of showers. Tomorrow it'll be -1 with a mix of sun and clouds. Thursday it'll be sunny but the compromise dropping to the -3 degrees. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brett Blake, and you've been watching MediaPlex live at 1.